Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 5, The Cause of All Causes, Text 23. Mahatastu vikurvanad Rajaha satvopabrimhitat Tamaha pradanastva abhavad Dravyagyana kriyatmakaha Mahatastu vikurvanad Rajaha satvopabrimhitat Tamaha pradanastva abhavad Dravyagyana kriyatmakaha Mahatastu vikurvanad Raja Satvo Baprimhitat Tama Pradanastva Bhavad Dravyagyana Kriyatmakaha. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Material activities are caused by the Mahat Tattvas being agitated. At first there is transformation of the modes of goodness and passion, and later, due to the mode of ignorance, matter, its knowledge, and different activities of material knowledge come into play. Purport. Material creations of every description are more or less due to the development of the mode of passion, rajas. The Mahatattva is the principle of material creation, and when it is agitated by the will of the Supreme, at first the modes of passion and goodness are prominent, and afterwards the modes of passion, being generated in due course by material activities of different varieties, becomes prominent, and the living entities are thus involved more and more in ignorance. Brahma is the representation of the mode of passion, and Vishnu is the representation of the mode of goodness, while the mode of ignorance is represented by Lord Shiva, the father of material activities. Material nature is called the mother, and the initiator for materialistic life is the father, Lord Shiva. All material creation by the living entities is therefore initiated by the mode of passion. With the advancement of the duration of life in a particular millennium, the different modes act by gradual development. In the age of Kali, when the mode of passion is most prominent, material activities of different varieties in the name of advancement of human civilization take place, and the living entities become more and more involved in forgetting their real identity, the spiritual nature. By a slight cultivation of the mode of goodness, a glimpse of spiritual nature is perceived, but due to the prominence of the mode of passion, the mode of goodness becomes adulterated. Therefore, one cannot transcend the limits of the material modes, and therefore a realization of the Lord, who is always transcendental to the modes of material nature, becomes very difficult for the living entities, even though prominently situated in the mode of goodness through cultivation of various methods. In other words, the gross matters are adibhutam, their maintenance is adidaivam, and the initiator of material activities is called adhyatmam. In the material world, these three principles act as prominent features. namely as raw material, its regular supplies, and its use in different varieties of material creations for sense enjoyment by the bewildered living entities. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So it'll be a quick class till 8:30. We have visitors coming to the temple on the weekends. So this chapter is called The Cause of All Causes. And Lord Brahma is speaking to his son and his disciple, Narada Muni. Lord Brahma says in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So that last line of that verse, Sarva Karana Karanam, is the exact title of this particular chapter, The Cause of All Causes. So Lord Brahma has in effect already answered who is the cause of all causes? Ishvara Parama Krishna. And that same question is being answered by Lord Brahma to Narada Muni in this chapter. So if you actually study Srila Prabhupada's purports, you'll often find that Srila Prabhupada mentions that there's two different types of causes. There's the immediate cause, and then there's what Srila Prabhupada calls the remote cause, or the absolute cause. And in this world, everything is just a combination and a reaction of an effect to a previous cause, right? Like you're all here right now, we're all here right now in the temple room, practicing Krishna consciousness because there was some cause for that. Just like in our case, Jitendra Prabhu, he introduced us to Krishna consciousness and invited Kamsari Sena Prabhu and myself to a retreat. So we decided to come, and we got the association of our spiritual master there. And we got enthused, we got interested, we had the association of really nice, sincere devotees, and then we started to practice, and now we're here. So even if you didn't want to come to Krishna consciousness, a devotee might have intercepted with your free will by giving you a book or giving you some prasadam. So whether you were the cause directly or someone else was the cause of your coming to Krishna consciousness, whatever it is in this material world, there's a cause and there's an effect. Now consider a crude example, right? Because if you consider just the immediate cause, you can't appreciate the full picture. Say, for example, a teenage boy, walks into a store and steals something. Right? And then he gets apprehended by the police, and he gets fined or something like that. So who is guilty there? Who would you say is guilty of the crime? Is the store person guilty? What do you say? It's a question to you. The boy is guilty. Okay. So, we see the immediate cause. The boy walked into the shop, he stole something, and then he was fined. Fine. Now let's consider a remote cause. Let's say that before he actually walked into the shop, right? Now bear in mind he's a teenage boy, young teenage boy, 14, 15 years of age or whatever. And at home, his parents were having an argument, and he was trying to intervene in the argument, and was telling his parents, stop, it's really agitating me. I want you to be together peacefully, this and that. And out of frustration, he leaves his house. And he's wandering the streets with that sort of a mindset, that sort of a consciousness. Now, would your opinion of that boy change at least slightly? It would, right? So if you consider, it reminds me actually, this is on book distribution, it was on George Street. And so we were distributing books along George Street. I think it was the intersection of Eddy Avenue and George Street, coming from Central Station. And I was just distributing books in the morning, and there's a 7-Eleven there on George Street. And all of a sudden I see this man, he runs out of the 7-Eleven with a cup of coffee in his hand. And the store person inside the 7-Eleven, he was an Asian man, slightly elderly Asian man. And if you've ever seen movies of Bruce Lee when he's angry, really bulging eyes, very like a death stare he will give, So he came running out of his shop, he's a store person, chasing this man with the coffee. And the guy who is holding the coffee, he's running across George Street, he's running to get away from the store person. And he loses his balance, and while he's falling down, he gets frustrated and he throws his coffee trying to get this store person. It was really amazing scene to see that. Now, if you just see that, just like that, you would consider, hey, he went into the store and bought a cup of coffee. Why is this store person storming out of the store and chasing him? One of his customers, right? Yeah, but that's the remote cause. That's the cause that we don't empirically see with our senses or whatever. It's a cause that it's a more subtle cause. It requires a bit more, research or contemplation, whatever. A bit more depth. That's the remote cause. So if you actually investigate, he actually went into the store, and there he was making his cup of coffee, and he looks around. Okay, the guy's not looking, and he storms out of the shop. But if you look at it, you think, why is the store person chasing after the guy who paid for his coffee? So we have to consider not just the immediate cause, but also the remote cause. Now, everything we do in this world, whether it's getting an education or having a family or working and earning money, saving up for things or whatever, we're all doing these things as a cause and effect. But if we don't understand what the original cause is, right? Like we may think, my cause of my being here right now is because my parents, they got together and they had me as a child. And I was born and I grew up, and therefore I'm doing the things that I do in my life. Right? Okay, now let's keep going back and back and back and back and back. If we don't understand the original cause of not only our existence, but our parents' existence, their parents' existence, the existence of how the Earth planet came to be, how the universe came to be, why it came to be, then we can't properly understand in the proper perspective of all other subsequent causes and effects. If we don't understand the original, remote, absolute cause, then we cannot properly put into perspective all subsequent dependent causes and effects. Therefore, whatever we do in this world, it always is defective. But it's like building a skyscraper and the foundation it's unknown how properly built the foundation is. Right? Does it make sense? So whatever stories you build on top, it's like, yeah, the building could be stable, but at any time in the future it could topple over because we don't know how strong the foundation is. So if we don't understand the original cause of why creation took place, what was the purpose of creation, then everything we do subsequently is unfounded in that sense. It's not properly understood. Now, if you consider, Srila Prabhupada mentions this very nicely in the 10th canto. He talks about I-ness and minus. And this was mentioned, translated by Srila Prabhupada in a previous verse in this chapter, because Narada Muni is asking Lord Brahma about how this all came to be. Oh, Brahma, I only see you, Brahma, so therefore you must be the cause of all causes. So Narada Muni is saying, or rather Brahma is telling Narada Muni, the illusory energy of the Lord cannot take precedence, being ashamed of her position. But those who are bewildered by her always talk nonsense, being absorbed in thoughts of it is I and it is mine. So the Sanskrit word there is mamaham. Mama means it is mine, and aham means it is I. So in the 10th canto, Srila Prabhupada says that I-ness and minus, a person becomes very proud of having a lot of relatives and he considers them, they're my relatives. A rich person has a lot of wealth and he says, this is my wealth, right? But unless he existed in the first place, there wouldn't be any meaning to whatever belongs to him. Does that make sense? Unless he existed in the first place, what's the point in having talking about a great family or whatever material assets you have? So all of our minus is dependent on I-ness. So I-ness, me, ego, identity, is more important than minus. This is mine, this is mine, this is mine. These people belong to me, like that. This country is mine. Because minus is dependent on I-ness. And that I-ness, that concept of I-ness is very nicely delved upon in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam when it comes to the residents of Vrindavan. Because in this world, we all love ourselves the most. We all consider ourselves to be the most important. And because other people or other things are in a relation to ourselves, we consider them important as well. But as I just mentioned, I-ness is still more important than minus. So you are still the focus. But how is it possible that in Vrindavan, the Brajabasis, they consider Krishna to be more important than themselves? Right? That's the fact. In Vrindavan, they consider Krishna to be more important than themselves, than their I-ness. So for them, their minus is greater than I-ness. And the reason that is because, it's very nicely explained, that we consider ourselves to be of prime importance, and that's because, I'm talking about the material body, that's because within the material body, there is our mind. Okay? And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's explained that higher than your gross senses, higher than your material body, is your mind, higher than your mind is your intelligence, and higher than intelligence is your soul. Paratastu saha. Okay, it's mentioned. So, because our mind and all our fantasies and all our material desires are there within this material body, more important than our material body is our material mind. That's why we love our gross body, because the mind is contained within it. Now, within the subtle body is your spiritual body. So you love your mind because, in effect, your original spiritual self is within your subtle body. And the final point is that you love yourself as the spirit soul because Krishna as the super soul is the self of the self. So that's the original cause of I-ness. So we're talking about the cause of all causes. Krishna is the cause of all causes. And any subsequent cause after that, it's only important because it is originally based and founded upon Krishna, who is the self of the self. So our best friend in all time, places, and circumstances is Krishna. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagno nishaya shochiti muyamanaha jushtam yada pashyati kashitenam asya mahimanam iti vita shoka. Kathopanishad explains the example of the two birds sitting on the tree. And one is busy eating all the fruits, the ripe or the sour-tasting fruits and the nice sweet-tasting fruits of material happiness and distress. And Krishna, the self of the self, is simply waiting beside us for us to turn to him and have a relationship with him. But there's so many obstacles, and this particular verse is talking about the three modes of material nature being one of those obstacles. I had this question a few days ago, earlier on this week, about Maya and the three modes of material nature. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Devi Yeshu Gunamayi Mama Maya Durataya Mamevaya Prapandante Maya Mitam Tarante. Krishna says that Maya belongs to me. I am the controller of Maya, Mama Maya. And he says that you can overcome Maya if you take shelter of me. Okay? So Maya belongs to Krishna. And Maya's purpose is to condition the living entity. Now the three modes of material nature, their purpose is also to condition the living entity. But Maya is being controlled by Krishna, and the three modes of material nature are being controlled by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, Mahesh. So what is the difference between Maya and the three modes of material nature? So I consulted with a few devotees, and very nice answer they gave. Just like how the personality Maya, she carries the trident. And the three spikes of the trident represent threefold suffering, which is Adi, Daivik, Bhautik, and Adhyatmic. And Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that towards the end of this purport as well. So Adi Daivik kleshas, Adi Bhautik, and Adhyatmic kleshas are a weapon or an instrument or a tool which is used by Maya Devi to condition the living entities. So in the same way, the three modes of material nature are also instruments, they're also tools used by Maya to condition the living entities. So you can think of them as being like a subset of Maya, because Maya, as a general definition, Maya means anything that which is not. Now under Maya, for many, many things, the 24 elements of Sankhya, the Pancha Mahabhuta, earth, fire, water, air, ether, the Pancha Tanmatras, like perception, hearing, and the objects of the senses, your mind, intelligence, false ego. So, the 5, 5, 5, 5, 20, plus your mind, intelligence, and your false ego. All these things fall under the category of Maya, that which is not. The Mahatattva, which is mentioned in this verse as well, it is the differentiated aspect of Pradhan, of material nature. So Pradhan is, just like Vrajanath Prabhu was saying, Pradhan is undifferentiated, Mahatattva is differentiated. So when Pradhan, it differentiates, it turns into the 5 material elements, it turns into the 5 senses, it turns into the 5 objects of the senses, it turns into different gross bodies, all that sort of stuff. But all these differentiations are contained within the undifferentiated Pradhan as well, originally. So this Mahatattva is what Maya is essentially. Now, just like the 3 kleshas, they're a subset of that which is not. So similarly, the 3 modes of material nature are also a subset of that which is not, or Maya's energy. The only difference is that particular aspect of Maya is delegated to be controlled and utilized by Vishnu, Shiva, and Lord Brahma. So Srila Prabhupada is raising a very interesting point about how these modes of material nature act through the passage of time, because in the previous verse it was mentioned that after the incarnation of the first Purusha, Karnarnavashai Vishnu, the Mahatattva, or the principle of material creation, takes place, and then time is manifested. And in course of time, the 3 qualities appear. The 3 modes of material nature appears. So time is like a fabric through which degradation, because of the 3 modes of material nature, takes place. And Srila Prabhupada is explaining very nicely here. He's saying that by the will of the Supreme, at first the modes of passion and goodness are prominent. And after the modes of goodness and passion being prominent, only the mode of passion, which is generated in due course by material activities of different varieties, becomes prominent. So first there's a mode of goodness which is prominent. Then as time passes and creation starts to get more and more, it starts to continue. The mode of passion starts to increase, and the mode of goodness decreases. Mode of passion becomes prominent, and then the living entities are thus involved more and more in ignorance, because as creation continues, right, then the conditioned living entities, they engage more and more in materialistic activities which bind them. And because of that incremental binding, Mayic activities that the conditioned souls are engaged in, then the mode of passion also dissipates, in contrast to, or in relation to, the mode of ignorance, which increases more and more. So I just want to finish with one quick thing, which I saw. You know, sometimes Radhanath Maharaj in his books, he gives examples from nature. So I have something that I saw the other day. So we were we were painting the car park with the X's, so with the crosses. So the way we did it was that, first of all, we did a very basic coat, a very light coat, and we waited for a minute, and then we did a very heavy coat, right, with a lot more paint. And that second coat was quite thick. It was maybe a few mils thick. So there was a lot of ants and insects walking around in the car park. So this is what we can learn from the ladybug and the ant. Okay? The ladybug and the ant. So as I made a thick coat on one of the X's in the car park, okay? Obviously it was still liquid, it had not dried yet. Then I saw a few ants which were very close to that X, which were very close to that paint. They actually noticed, hey, there's something different here. So they actually went up to that paint, and with their little antennas, they were actually analyzing, hey, what is this substance? And while they were doing that, they could understand that this is toxic, or this is not good for me, or I can't walk over it, I should not. So they were very perceptive, right? They were analyzing. And because they analyzed, they came right up to it, they even touched it a little bit, and then they went away. Now, I was just observing. Now, along comes a very beautiful looking ladybug. Not even a red one, but a yellow one, right? And it's coming charging down the car park. And I'm thinking, so let's see what this ladybug is going to do. Is this ladybug also as intelligent like the ants? And just observing, I saw this ladybug is walking down, and as if nothing is in its path, the ladybug just, you know, like if you're running, and then suddenly there's like a quicksand, and then you run, and you make it like 4 or 5 meters into the quicksand, and then you start to sink. That's what happened to the ladybug. It just ran maybe a centimeter into the thick pool of paint, and then just got stuck, and then it like turned upside down and was like wiggling for help. And I tried. I got a leaf and I tried to get it out, but it passed away, unfortunately. So I chanted for it. But it's an important lesson we can understand, that we have to be perceptive of this material world. We can't go blindly. Just like Bhagavatam gives the example of moths which fly into the light. This is exactly what happened. So we have to analyze the nature of this material world. That's what Srimad Bhagavatam is doing here, talking about the 3 modes of material nature. Not only that, but in comparison to an ant, a ladybug is very beautiful, right? You would agree? The ladybug is very aesthetically beautiful to look at. So similarly, we may have Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribi. But if we don't have that perceptive ability to understand the nature of this material world, it doesn't mean a thing, and we can lose it in an instant. We can also fall into the quicksand of material existence and lose everything. So these material qualities, Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribi, are not important. What's important is that we gain transcendental knowledge and utilize that transcendental knowledge to become Krishna consciousness. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita that if one cultivates transcendental knowledge and applies it, then in due course of time, because of cultivating that transcendental knowledge, one will feel deep satisfaction within oneself. So we'll finish here. It's 8:30. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.